We are on.
All right, everybody, we are excited to have you back with us for the 2022 season. It's underway here. Well, it's about to be underway here in about 2 weeks or so, or actually a week and a half. And really happy to be back with the guys again. Mark Willoughby, the voice of the Lions, Alan Waddell, and we're excited to have our new man in the booth, color commentator Harris Beal, is joining us today, and he'll be joining us on these little podcasts that we do as we get ready for the season over the next few weeks and as we get into the season. So happy to have Harris, man. Man, it's great to have you aboard. When you have a job like this, you have the people that are passionate about what they're doing and know the game. You're a former player for the Lions, and you just love Southeastern, everything about it. It's great to have you aboard.
Definitely appreciate it. Thank you guys for allowing me to join the team, and I'm excited for this year coming up. It is a different perspective, that's for sure, being on the sidelines in the locker room to in the stands for the last 5 years, and then now up in the booth with you guys. So I'm definitely excited to see what this season has entailed for us.
Well, you take a look at this Lion football team, it's a lot of questions, and I think that those answers could be done, answered pretty quickly as you look at how this thing has played out in the camp. And I think it starts with our quarterback, Cephas Johnson, who looks like he's going to be the guy going into the UL Lafayette game. I'll want to welcome in Mark and Alan as well. I'm going to kind of go around the room here and just kind of get your thoughts on that transition from Cole to Cephas, and how that's going to play, how that's played out so far in the spring and the summer, and how we see that going forward this season, and how he and Cole differ, because they do differ in a lot of ways outside of maybe size. They're both pretty big guys, but the way they play is very different. Mark, we're going to start with you.
Well, first of all, I want to welcome aboard the Duke of Hammond, Harris Beal, to the Radio Network. Just excited to have him with us, and it's going to be awesome in the booth this year. You couldn't ask for more different, divergent type quarterbacks, Cephas Johnson and Cole Kelly. Cole, the classic pocket passer, could run the football, but he's going to sit in the pocket, just kind of spread the ball around, distribute it. Cephas has a great arm, may have a stronger arm than Cole. He's got tremendous arm talent. Can spin it down the field about 65, 70 yards, but very mobile. He can extend plays. I think where you're going to see the difference, not that Cole couldn't extend plays, but Cephas can extend plays plus some and get out 40, 50 yards down the field in a running game. Cole was used in the power run game. You'll see Cephas in that regard as well. We'll still throw the football. I mean, it's going to be, probably 35, 40 attempts a game. And, Cephas is accurate. There may be some, inconsistency issues, I know, through the spring and maybe early in fall camp. But when he's on, he's going to be as talented as anybody in the country. I mean, there's not going to be a quarterback in the United States and FCS that's going to have more physical talent than Cephas Johnson. I mean, no one. He's 6'5", 220, runs a 4.5, and he can throw it. But again, we just got to see that consistency develop. We started to see that later in camp, and I think he's ready to take the reins and run with it.
Harris, jumping to you. A little different vantage point of obviously Cole last year than we got, but football, what he was able to do, the records he put up, where he led this team. Cephas guy that comes in here. What do you think he has to do to be successful this year? And do you think that weighs on him, knowing the shoes he's trying to fill?
I mean, I definitely think there's a lot of pressure coming in after Cole Kelly, at Walter Payton Award winner, should have won it last year. So there's a big shoes to fill there, but I also think that Cephas has athletic ability. I think he holds onto the football. I think he brings a more dynamic, intricacy to the running game. I think Greg Stevens can spread it out a little bit more and have some more wrinkles with the run game with Cephas back there. So I do think we might see kind of some new things with Cephas.
Absolutely. Alan, your thoughts? I mean, you were down there at the good vantage point of Cole last year. You saw Cephas hit the football. I mean, Cephas is not a mystery to Lion football fans. He caught the ball as a wide receiver. They got the ball in reverse. They try to get it in his hands. He's an athlete. Your thoughts on Cephas coming into this season?
Well, one thing you got to remember about Cephas Johnson, guys, he was a captain every game last year. So this is a guy that's, he's been in the program. He's a respected guy in the program. But if you look at the run that Southeastern's had over the last 10 years with quarterback play, you go back to 2012 with Nathan Stanley, and then obviously Brian Bennett. Those 2 years in 13 and 14 was what he was able to do. Chase and Virgil had a great career here at Southeastern, then obviously went to Cole Kelly, and now Cephas Johnson's the next guy in line. And if you look at that, what's the common denominator? It's Greg Stevens. And look, those are all great players, but Greg Stevens coached those guys. He developed those guys. And I think that your offense is going to be another great unit this year. Now, is it going to be the same? No, it's going to look different. I think we're going to run the football a little bit more. As Mark alluded to, I think you're going to see some more quarterback runs, more explosive plays. Cole was mobile. Cole could get things done with his legs, but he wasn't going for 30. He was trying to go 10. So it's just going to look a little bit different. But again, I have total faith in what Coach Stevens does, what Coach Selfo has added with Coach Stevens to that offensive side of the football. It's been incredible the last few years, and I think that's just going to continue to build this year with Cephas Johnson. I do think we're going to run the football a little bit more, which I think has an opportunity to maybe protect our defense a little bit. I think our defense will be better. I know we're going to get into that here on our Zoom call tonight, but I'm excited to see what Cephas brings to the table. I know we've been excited about him the last couple of years. He's been on campus. He's just one of those guys that when you walk on the field, when he steps on the field, he looks the part. That's what guys in the NFL look like. He's 6'5", 225. He's super athletic, and I'm excited to see him being the guy. He's going into this year. He's the guy, and we're going to see how he responds to that. But the main thing for me is he doesn't need to try to be Cole Kelly. He needs to be Cephas Johnson.
Yeah, and don't forget, guys, he has about 8 FBS starts under his belt at South Alabama. So this is a guy who was a starting quarterback as a freshman before he transferred here for the spring of 2020, and competed with Cole. And that's what Frank Zelfo and Greg Stevens have like to do. They like to stack transfers, and we saw that with Cole and Chasen. We saw it with obviously Cole and Cephas, and now Cephas' chance to run with it. And it's going to be exciting because he's going to bring that element of athleticism, and what are we going to see next? With Cole, he's going to sit back there and spread it around, but with Cephas, is he going to pull it down and run it? Is he going to chunk it over your head 65 yards? He can throw the check down game. He can do all that. It's going to be interesting to see how this offense operates.
Guys, Cole's a big story, but some offensive linemen were lost last year after last year's season. Some guys that have been in the program for a while. Alan, jumping to you real quick. I mean, when you have a new QB, you have a new offensive line, it's a lot for Coach Stevens to put together here.
Yeah, he lost some good players. I mean, when you lose your center, that's obviously a big deal. Now, I think we have a guy that's going to jump in there, and Don Serapiglia, who's going to be a really good player. But Drew Jones was, I think, a 3-year starter, and he's been kind of the anchor in the middle of that line, middle of that offensive line. Obviously, Brendan Miles' character, he was a great player for Southeastern, a guy out of St. Aug, and he's moved on. But, we have other guys. We've built depth over the years. Brendan Langclose had to play a lot last year. So he'll just slide into that tackle position. Jalen Bell's back. I don't think there's superstars on this offensive line, but I think it's a very solid group. And I think A.J. Hop is one of the most underrated offensive line coaches in the country. I mean, we have been incredibly fortunate to keep him here. He is that good at what he does, and we have been super productive on the offensive line. Look, when you're good on offense, you're good on the offensive line, and we've been good on offense the last few years.
And
you've been kind of getting out. Go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
No, just going to echo real quick what Alan just said about A.J. Hop, and and I've seen it with the backups in camp, because we know we have 5 good starters. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of drop off from last year to this year in the front 5. It's what's coming behind them, who's going to back them up. Last year you could roll 8, maybe even 10 guys you felt pretty good about could play. Weren't sure coming into this camp how many guys do we have? 2, maybe 3 that we felt like you could get some snaps out of. But I think they've done AJ Hop's done a really good job developing some of those backline guys that, no, you're not going to replace them 5-on-5 and have the same production. But I do feel like there are more pieces, maybe 8, 9, maybe 10 that could roll in there, and you'd feel okay about it if somebody's down for a few plays. So I think that's where you really see AJ Hop in his coaching. But you talked about John Allen left guard. You got Jalen Bell left tackle. Sarah Pigley is going to be a star in this league. I think it's center. Right guard's a transfer from Northwestern State, and Logan Cannerty. And, of course, Brendan Langclose has played a lot of football as a backup on both tackles. And so I don't think we're going to miss a lot there. I think the strength of this offensive line is probably more in tune to this type of style of offense. They're going to run the ball more. This is a more physical offensive line than what we had last year, probably a little bit better pass blockers. So I think it maybe plays a little bit well that way. But again, it's just going to be the backups. Somebody goes down, who's going to come in and replace?
And if we could find 3 to 4 guys that can come in and do 20 snaps a game, just to kind of give the starting
Right.
a little bit of a little rest. It's like, I mean, when I played, that was the goal, was to have 10 guys that come in and do 20 to 30 snaps, and just rotate them in constantly. And I think if we can develop with AJ Hop and develop some of these younger guys, I mean, we got some big freshmen on this team. See which freshmen step up and might see the field this year going forward.
Yeah, Harris, that's a great point, because it seems like every year, no matter what you're playing for, how it all plays out, you need that depth on the offensive line. And
We've been incredibly fortunate. We've been healthy the last couple of years on the offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, like incredible. So, knock on wood, hopefully we can continue that here this year.
Continuing to talk about the offense a little bit, this is, we talked about Cole's mobility and what he can do. How much more are we going to get out of our wide receiver core? Obviously, you lost Austin Mitchell. It's like he was here forever, but you have CJ Turner coming back off an injury. A lot of the same guys will be back this year. It's new faces as well. When you have a quarterback like Cephas that is that constant threat to just take off and go, or has a lot more mobility than to get out of the pocket, keep plays alive than Cole might have had, how much more difficult is that going to be for the defensive backs of the opponent to keep coverage up, to know that, hey, we got to stay on top of our guy, because this quarterback can get out of the pocket, he can create maybe more than any quarterback we've had since Brian was here, with that ability to elude and get out of the pocket and throw the ball down the field, moving from his right to his left. Alan, just your thoughts on that.
Well, first of all, if you look back at a year ago, what teams were starting to do to us is they just would drop 8 guys into coverage, dare us to run the football, and Cole was having to throw a lot of things underneath. And that's why he was so good, and his percentages were so high, because he was so accurate. And he could make those throws. I think this year, especially with the running back core that we've brought in, obviously Cephas' ability to run the football, I think you're actually going to see more explosive plays out of this offense than you did a year ago, just because I think teams are going to have to come up. They're going to have to play that extra man in the box to stop the run. And we have some guys that can flat out run on the outside. And as Mark said, Cephas has a big arm. I think you're going to see more shot plays this year out of this offense. I think it's going to look very similar to 13. If you remember those teams with Brian, because obviously Brian could throw the football, but they had to respect his ability to run the ball as well. So the teams had to step up, and when they did that, he'd throw it over their head. We'd have some big plays. I think you're going to see a lot of that this year. I think you're going to see some big-time explosive plays. You mentioned C.J. Turner. I think Gage Laverdane is going to have a monster year. I think he's just the it factor here for Southeastern. And I think Terrell Carter is a guy that could really have a big year. He has played some quality snaps for Southeastern. He's made some big catches for us. I can remember a big catch he had in the playoffs there against Florida A&M. But I think this is the year he kind of gets over the top as that third receiver, works the middle of the field. And I think he has a big year, number 7, Terrell Carter.
Well, I would agree with that. Terrell Carter is probably had the most consistent spring and fall stacking camps back to back. It's been really good so far. I know Frank Selfo's really singled him out last week as well. But a couple of transfers that have kind of gone under the radar. Manny Logan Green is extremely explosive. This he reminds me a lot of Juwan Petit-Ferrer and a little bit of Austin Mitchell combined, and a little bit of J.J. Connor. He's that type of receiver. And then another guy that has gone completely under the radar is Antoine Robinson. He's a transfer out of Southern Miss, can really take the top off of defense. I think he's a guy that I think is going to really have to be reckoned with. And, of course, you get Nick Kovacs is back. Anthony Spurlock is back. We talked about C.J. Turner. This is a very deep wide receiver core. And then Maurice Massey's been getting a lot of snaps. He's a transfer out of Missouri who came in last year. Wasn't quite ready to play, but he's a big physical guy, and it looks like he's going to have a chance to step up. So the wide receiver core, I think we're going to get a lot of production out of those guys. You got a little bit of everything. You got size. You got smaller guys that can run the crossers across the middle. We got guys that can take the top off, and some possession types. So it's a diverse group. And then, of course, we haven't talked about the tight end well, and of course the running back group will also factor in the passing game.
Well, I think that's a really interesting point to see how many weapons that are out there for this team. And look, Harris, running the football is important. It's kind of a dinged up injury situation last year with the running back core. In 2021, we felt like we had some guys. They kind of played a game or two and then they got banged up. How tying that all in? I mean, how important? And that's something that maybe Coach Stevens has gotten away from at some crucial points in his time here is running the football on a consistent basis. How important is that going to be for this team this year?
It's gonna be very important. Ideally, you want 3 or 4 guys that you can just put in there and get 3, 4, 5 yards every time.
Right.
Cephas, and then you have Jones coming back, who had I think he led the running backs last year.
Right, he did, yeah.
A lot of yards because we threw the ball so much, but I think he's gonna step up as a senior, and I think he's gonna get a lot of snaps. And then you have the young guys, the young fresh legs. So I'm hoping that with Cephas's ability to take it around the end, it might open up,
Right.
middle with some of these running backs.
Hey, Robbie, let me jump in here for a second too.
Yeah.
Hey, Robbie. So one thing I want to just kind of echo what you just said though is, look, I know that sometimes it seems like Coach Stevens maybe got away from the running game, but it's hard to argue, with letting the best player in America throw the football that many times, and that's what I feel like. That's why I think I think it got a little deceiving. Hey, we just want to throw the ball all the time. No, but when you have the best player in America, you want him to hold the ball, and I think that's what's happened the last couple of years. So I do think you're going to see a little more diverse offense this year. We can run the football. You think back to some of these offenses that he's had since he's been here at Southeastern, been super explosive plays in the running game. And I think you'll see that again this year. I think we're going to be 4 or 5 deep at the running back position. The transfer out of New Hampshire is a really good player. I know Mark's high on him. We got some good freshmen backs as well. Mark has a chance to go to practice just about every day. So, I'm sure he has a lot more to add on this position.
Well, you're right, Alan. You hit the nail on the head with Greg Stevens. He's about as diverse offense coordinator as there is out there. We go back to when he was here in his first stint at Southeastern. It was a heavy run game with Brian Bennett. Now, we threw the football, but that was a running offense. Brian Bennett ran for over 1,000 yards. You had David Roberson. You had Rasheed Harrell in that lineup. So Southeastern was able to run the ball, physical offensive line. Of course, with Cole Kelly. Did not have the depth at running back, but you had the best quarterback in the country and a good stable wide receivers. Why wouldn't you throw for 5,000 yards? And he did that. But now, fast forward, you got Cephas Johnson, who is kind of a jack of all trades. But we talked about Carlos Washington. This guy's 220 pounds, transfer out of New Hampshire, was a 3-year starter there, rushed for over 500 yards a year there. Very explosive at 220. This is a guy that's got some shake and catch the ball out of the backfield, has some wide receiver skill as well at 220 pounds. And the guy that may be the most improved player in camp is Jesse Brett. Here's a guy who came in from UMass, was a wide receiver, sat out a year, gained some weight, was a little bit overweight last year, moved back to running back, which was his natural high school position. Now he's trimmed down about 10, 15 pounds. He's got a lot more quickness, looks more like the wide receiver we saw on tape at UMass. And he is that versatile running back who can run the football. And he's had some big plays in practice. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. I expect him to play well. Talked about Teron Jones already. He's just kind of steady Eddie Teron. And then the guy I think everybody's going to really like Derek Rodeo Graham, the true freshman out of University High in Baton Rouge. This guy's the real deal. I mean, he's jacked up. He's quick. He's 215. He's got shake. He can get to the corner, and he's tough inside. So I think we're going to see him at some point. And then there's Jamal Mcclendon who's back. Jamal Mcclendon, transfer out of UCLA. Saw him the first half of last year, played well, got hurt. He's a little bit dinged up right now in camp, but he'll be fine. And when he gets back, it's gonna be a 4 or 5 head monster back there with versatility. You got power backs, guys that can catch the football, guys that can run inside. So it's gonna be fun to watch. This is an offense that I think everybody expects to take a step back, just because you don't have Cole Kelly anymore. But I got to tell you, there's a lot of firepower. I think the offensive line is going to be good. It's just going to come down to the quarterback. If we get consistent quarterback play out of Cephas, this offense is going to pick up where it left off last year.
And if you talk about why we had to throw the ball so much, it's because we had to keep scoring. And we transitioned into the defense a little bit now. A new defensive –
Robbie, tight ends, Jacob Logan. We didn't talk about tight ends.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
Jacob Logan transfer out of Northwestern State. We lose Nolan Given. Here comes Jacob Logan, who's similar talent. So I think he's going to step right in. Of course, there's more depth than we had last year. I think we'll go more tight packages. So the tight end is going to play a big part in this offense too. No, go ahead.
No one who we watched in the first week of the preseason was getting snaps for the Lions, the Detroit Lions. So you see how talented he was and valuable to the offense. So defensively, Mark, I'm going to jump right back to you because you probably know the most about him. Our new defensive coordinator, obviously, Coach Monica moved on, took a head coaching job in the offseason and become a head coach again. He leaves the program. Again, Coach Selfo has somebody on his staff that he feels like he can elevate and get a lot out of. A guy who's been a defensive coordinator, was actually a defensive coordinator going back in 2013 who coached against the Lions. He was at Sanford. Talking about our new DC and what he's going to bring to the table.
Well, Bill DeTavio, and he's not just was a defense coordinator, was a successful defense coordinator at Sanford. Had a lot of good defenses, coached a lot of NFL players, guys that are still in the NFL, and kind of cut his teeth on defensive backs. And that's what he coaches here, coaches safeties. And hopefully Lance Guidry's not listening, but I'd say this might be a little controversial, but kind of reminds me of Lance Guidry with a little discipline on defense.
Yeah.
He's kind of aggressive, a lot of exotic stuff I think you'll see out of his defenses. Very creative, but I think he is sound. I don't think you're going to see a lot of chances taken without having, in other words, not going to be exposed like we were a couple years ago. But that was a really good defense 2 years ago. Lance Guidry shut down some good teams. Of course, you give up some big plays because they had a lot of injuries on that team as well. But really like what he brings to the table. But I think where this defense is going to grow is in the back end and the secondary. One, we're healthy, and there's just more depth. They brought in some guys, especially at the safety position. I think will create some speed. They can go downhill and tackle in the box. They can cover over the top. 4, 5, 6 deep at corner. So I think there's a lot more depth there, and I think we're going to be better up front, especially rushing the passer off the edge.
Continuing on the defensive backs, Harris, that's going to be a big part of it. You got guys like Donnell Ward-McGee, Orlando, Taylor. They've been
Alexander.
back there. That is a group that is going to be called upon this year. Yeah, and your thoughts on that group?
Last year, they got picked on a lot,
Right?
Because our offense scored a lot, so the defense was on the field more than probably in normal circumstances. But
Sure.
today at practice, when I was watching them, they're very athletic. They're physical, they're fast, and I think they're going to be fun to watch. I think they're going to make plays. I think they're going to – and speaking back to the defensive coordinator, he's the most vocal guy at practice. You'll hear him.
Right. Oh, good point. Yeah.
And he lays into his DBs and safeties. So I think this group's going to be a lot more mature this year. I think they're going to make plays, and I think they're going to limit the mistakes that we had last year.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see them really compete.
Harris has a good point, because sometimes when a guy is calling the defense, like our coach will be, who's the defensive coordinator, and he's coaching that back end group, he's going to put more pressure on them to create opportunities. That's a great point you make there, Alan. This defense was frustrating to watch at times last year with injuries, but there's a lot of talent coming back and a lot of opportunity to make plays.
Can we just address the elephant in the room? We got to be better on defense. I mean, we got to be. It's all the same guys. They've been playing for 3 and 4 years in the secondary. I think maturity is a good word that Harris just used. I think this is a group that's going to be a much more mature team. We're an older team now on the defensive side of the football. With the last few years, it seemed like we were playing with a bunch of young players. But, I mean, on paper, we got the best secondary in the country. We are loaded in the secondary. I think linebacker is certainly a question mark. We lost some key linebackers from a year ago, but I know we have some guys that we're excited about. Defensive line, we've got to be better, I feel like. And again, we've been more successful here at Southeastern, especially under Coach Selfo, when we have a defensive coordinator who is aggressive. We got to try to make plays, force the issue, because we can score. There's no reason to sit there and kind of, play soft and play conservative, because try to create some plays. If they score, who cares? We're going to throw our offense out there and we can score. So, when we had Coach Guidry that year in 2019, we had some big plays. Now, at the end of the year, we were totally dismantled. We had no players left, and we gave up a lot of points there in the playoffs. But, this team needs to be aggressive. We have athletic guys on the defensive side of the football. Let's be aggressive, try to cross some turnovers, And I think that we have an opportunity to have a really good football team, but we have to be better on defense if we're going to make a deeper run in the playoffs.
Mark?
Well, the thing I see about this defense, and again, it remains to be seen how much better we're going to be. I don't know, but it's definitely a better looking group. I think we're better on all three levels. And I think the thing that's going to separate this team from last year, especially, I think the ability to rush the passer, and I think we can get four-man pressure and not have to blitz as much. But I think where we're going to be better is obviously we have health at cornerbacks. I think we're going to be able to lock up on the outside and cover most people. Well, we've got some safeties, that can run. And I think that's what we didn't have last year. I think we're a little bit sluggish, the safety position, but you got Markel Lenzer's ready to play now, is a great athlete. Kunta Hester is a young man, transfer from Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, can really run, is athletic, will hit you. Donnell Ward McGee's back. You got Jack Henderson, who's another year older, who's a great player and a budding star in this league. But again, you go back to those corners. Philando Jordan's healthy. He missed half the season last year. Zy Alexander's another year older, had 6 interceptions. He's improved. He's bigger, more physical. Brandon Barbee, we haven't talked about, was an All-American at Morehead State. He's healthy. He's back. And of course, Blaine Delahouse's back. He can play. And of course, Tyrone Leggett has really developed, transfer from South Alabama. So you've got depth at corner, so you can roll bodies there. You got safeties that can run, you can blitz off the edge. And then we haven't gotten to the linebackers. You get a guy like Anthony Britton, who was a first-team All-Southern Conference player at the Citadel, who's transferred in as a big physical guy, can cover in the pass game, 6'2", 6'3", 230. So this team will run better. They're longer, a little bit more physical. I think this looks more like 2019, obviously, than the last 2 years. But I think there'll be a little bit more discipline on the back end. Don't think you're going to see the busted plays that we've seen in the past. And if that happens, this team's got a chance to really improve that scoring average. It was mid-30s last year, get that thing down in the 20s. The offense can keep pace, and now you got a chance to really have a good season.
Well, guys, it's going to be the key. If you can stop, the proof's been in the pudding since Coach Shelto got here and Coach Stevens has been, its offense is going to be consistent no matter who you throw in there. You're going to get productivity out of your offensive scheme up the right way. So that defense can find what it needs to find, lower that points per game, like you mentioned, Mark. Use the maturity factor, like Harris was talking about. It's going to be on the table to play much better and sneak out a win or two. And so as we jump into the next phase, boy, this has been the question mark, I think, since Coach Shelfo's got here. It's been special teams. It's been a kicker. We jump into this year. When you take kicker out, I think Austin Dunlop is punting really well. He get thrown into bad special teams as a group. Austin's punted really well since he's been here. There's another young man on campus who's also done really, really well in camp so far playing the football. But it's been that field goal unit. It's been it's cost the Lions some games. Let's just call it what it is. We've cost the Lions some wins. And Harris is starting. Yeah, I mean, say that again, Mark.
To defer all kicking questions to the Duke.
Yeah, that's right, Harris. You got to pick this up because I mean, it's just been inconsistent. It really has.
Well, let's start from kickoffs. We can't kick the ball out of bounds, and Mateo has the leg to kick touchdowns.
Yeah.
Let's let him kick it deep, because when we try to do anything, putting numbers into the sideline, that's where the inconsistencies I'm seeing with him is just let the guy kick it and let our coverage do the work, because we know how to crash, we know how to throw, we know how to if they are to return, we're talented enough to stop the return. So let's just let them kick it deep. From what I see now, I saw today that the new freshman's getting some reps at kickoffs, and he has a strong leg. So I don't know if maybe if there's later on in the season to maybe rest Mateo his leg or anything like that, he might get some reps. But I like Mateo. I think he has a good leg, and I think he's more consistent when you just let him kick the ball deep.
Harris, when you're talking about those, we didn't seem to let him kick it deep. Were they overthinking it a little bit when they're trying to, be cute, maybe, so to speak?
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, I guess you play to what you see on film, with their return game, and you try to, I guess, take advantage of inside the 20 field position. But at the same time, if you're going to be inconsistent and you're going to kick the ball out of bounds and give them the ball in 35, then you might as well just let them start at 20. So,
Right. Yeah.
Well, look, guys, I'll tell you this. I took for granted early on in my Southeastern following career how good of kickers we had. You look back at, we had a run. I talked about quarterback run earlier on the show. The kicker run we had was pretty incredible. When you went from, Seth Sebastian, Ryan Adams, Dylan Burkhart, who was that before him?
Jeff Turner.
Jeff Turner.
Jeff
Jeff
Turner.
Turner was before him.
Yeah.
But
Jim Hall.
but let's just call it like it is, man. The last 5 years, when we run a kicker out there, I don't think anybody in the stadium is confident. And that's even talking about extra points. And we have got to be able to execute field goals and extra points at a consistent level because, I know Coach Selfo said this a few times in his preseason interviews. We lost 3 games last year in the regular season, all by 9 points. They were all by 3. We missed a field goal in every one of those games. So we had an opportunity to win or tie all of those games. 2 of them, I had a chance two of them had a chance to tie at the end and get us into an overtime situation where we would have felt really good about it, where Cole got us down an opportunity to score those points at the end of the game. But look, we got to figure out a way to do it. It's cost Coach Selfo 2 conference championships since he's been here. He's had an opportunity to have 2 conference championships because we couldn't kick a field goal. And I think that's something they worked really hard on to try to fix. And hopefully it's going to be better here this year.
And last year we were among the nation's leaders in 4th down conversions. We went for it a bunch, made it a bunch. I don't know if you can count on that early on with this team, just because you got to see the consistency. You had Cole Kelly back there running the show. It was almost an automatic conversion. The guy completed 75% of his passes. I mean, you got a chance to convert any 3rd down, any 4th down in that situation. So you're going to have to be able to make some field goals. And I think you got to make them 40 and in. You like to back that out to 45 and in. Anything over that you'll take, but the 39 and in's got to be automatic. And Mateo had a good start last year. Right? He finished at 10 of 15 or whatever it was at the end. It kind of tailed off at the end, but you just got to make those easy ones, and you got to make the extra points. And of course, and Harris mentioned it. Kickoffs, they got to be consistent. You got to, you can't give them the ball to 35. And that's some of the things that, I think our coverage units are good. I think we have good athletes running downfield. We've got more depth. In the past, we've had some issues. I know we're about to play an FBS opponent, and every time we play an FBS opponent, it always shows up in special teams, usually in the coverage units and also in the return game. But I think we can cover. I think we have athletic people, and I think we can punt the football. So I think that aspect of special teams is good. We'll punt the ball well. It's just going to be the consistency in the kicking game.
Well, how you talk about these 3 games that we lost close or whatever. I mean, Cole probably bailed out those kickers from being put in the spot a few times, like you mentioned, Mark, through the course of the year by just some conversions and scoring when going for it on 4th down. So we say those 3 games and we lost them close. Kickers might have been a bit influenced, but there probably could have been maybe 8 to 10 more times if he had a human at quarterback last year who wasn't just doing out.
Well, yeah, and look,
so it really
Robbie,
highlights it more.
And Robbie, to kind of echo what Mark said just a moment ago, we were so good on 4th down because if it was 4th and short, let's say 3 or 4 yards, Cole was so accurate. I mean, it was almost like he was just reaching out there and handing it to the receiver. So our chances of conversions were so high. That is not Cephas's game. He's accurate, but he's not as accurate as Cole. I mean, Cole is, a freak. Accurate. So again, there's going to be a time this year, and I've said this a few times talking about Cephas, there's going to be a time this year where it's going to be 4th and 3, and we're going to have somebody open, and he's going to overshoot it or throw it a little to the side. But there's also going to be a time where it's 4th and 3, he's going to tuck it and go 50. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to look different offensively this year for our fans.
And that's going to be the ticket. So, guys, kind of covered all the positions a little bit. Let's dive into this schedule a little bit. And this is kind of what I want to hit on. If you're a Southeastern fan over the last, 9-10 years, you've been talking about national playoffs, something that wasn't happening before 2013 here. And you talk about your schedule and games, and you look back this last year. Well, this year, and I think the next few years going forward, the Lions are going to have, I kind of call this 2.5 FBS games. Obviously, you have Lafayette to start, and then you're going to have FAU. Jacksonville State, still considered FCS, but they are making the transition. So they're going to be starting to do things differently. They hired Rich Rodriguez. Go ahead, Mark.
And they have more scholarships. So
They
they're
have more
not
scholarships. They're not playoff eligible, but they're kind of that half. So,
right.
Lions have never won an FBS opponent game. They've been in a lot under Coach Selfo. They've played some really close ones. You go back to, Ole Miss. You go back to La Tech last year. I think you can even look. Yeah, absolutely. So, listen, there's been chances, but it's hard to convert those games. There's a reason those teams pay us money to come play them. It's hard. And so you have these 3 games. They're about making the playoffs. If you don't feel like you steal one of them, your best chance is 8 wins, and it puts a really, really tight line on that playoff chances if you don't win the Southland Conference, to get in this playoff race. So just talk about, Mark, real quick, I'll start with you, these FBS games and what it's going to take to try to snag one of them.
Well, just a little bit of a dose of reality for our fans. We've never made the playoffs when we started the season with an FBS opponent. Usually when we've made the playoffs, we started with an FCS opponent and have won those games. We've gotten off to good starts, and there's always a first, right? So I will say that obviously Lafayette, Raging Cajuns, great program. Billy Napier kind of took that thing and ran with it, elevated it to 13 consecutive wins, 16th in the country last year, whatever they finished ranked. And of course, they have some changes, coaching staff changes, and lost some players, but they're going to be very talented and very good. They're playing at home. Debut for Mike Desermo, who I actually scouted in high school as a baseball player back in the day, but they're going to be fired up. So it's going to be a tough opponent, but I will say this. I think this Southeastern football team this roster is built to play against those kind of teams. It's built to play against the upper echelon of the FCS and, those mid-major, Sun Belt type teams. And so I do think this team can go in there and compete. I think they got a chance to win. We got to play well. Of course, then you follow it up with Florida Atlantic next week. So similar type opponent out of Conference USA. And it's tough. If you start off 0-2, now you get to come home for 4 straight. So you got a chance to right that ship before you go to Jacksonville State. But, it's all mindset. If you start off the season 0-2, do you crash and play bad at home when you come home against Central Connecticut and then it's kind of wallow around, you go 0-3 or struggle to go 1-2. And you just kind of, you want to get off on that right foot. And we've just seen it in the past. It's just difficult. And we saw what happened in 2017. We were just talking about that off the air. A good roster, a good football team, lost a heartbreaker in Lafayette and fell 0-1. Then we lost our quarterback, lose to Bethune-Cookman the next week at home. Now we're 0-2 and we've got to struggle. Ended up winning like 6 straight in the middle of the year and then lost 2 straight at the end of the year to McNeese and Sam Houston. Didn't make the playoffs. So I think we're kind of teetering. Which team are we going to be? Is 2017 or are we going to be that team that overcomes it and makes the playoffs starting with 2 FBS?
Harris is a player. I mean, you guys don't prepare for these things any different than you would a conference game, I wouldn't imagine.
No, same preparation. It's just like any other game. You go into that game thinking that you're going to win. You don't prepare to lose for any game. So they're going to prepare just like they would playing Nichols. I think the mindset in the locker room is they're going to go to Lafayette and win this game. I think they can do it. Just like Mark said, new coaching staff. They lost over 20 seniors, 20 starters, something like that. Red.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different look to the UL Lafayette Raging Cajuns. So we'll see if they can get the ball running, in their first game back and with this new staff. So I'm confident. I'm confident that the Lions can go out and just compete, stick with.
I think Harris makes a good point. To your point, Mark, like their coaching staff's in the same boat. Like they're following a legend in UL Lafayette over the last 20 years as coaching. They want to get. They feel like if they lay an egg in this game, like that's going to be a big black eye to this new staff and kind of that all of a sudden you're looking over your shoulder from the start.
Well, make no mistake, they're going to have their hands full with Southeastern. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we're going to go over there. We're going to stress them. We're going to test them, and it's going to be a close game into the 4th quarter. And it's going to come down to what it usually comes down to when we play FBS opponents. It comes down to special teams breakdowns. Do we give up 2 kickoff returns for a touchdown, which we did in 2017? Do we turn the football over and lose the turnover battle? And so that's usually what it comes down to when you play up, because usually those teams are going to be talented. They got more scholarships and more depth, and supposedly they're supposed to, and that tends to lead to special teams breakdowns and forced turnovers. So I think if we can, hold fort in that battle, I think we got a chance, and we can go over there and make it, like I said, a competitive game in the fourth quarter with a chance to win. It's just hard to predict FBS wins just because we've never won one since bringing football back. I think we have one in our history, and that was against UL Lafayette back in 1981. Last time we played a 1A team, and when it was 1A, 1AA, and won 7-0 in a monsoon back then. So that's the only up win this program's ever had. So could we do it again? We'll see.
Well, look, if you look at the
Yeah.
schedule,
Yeah.
if you look at the schedule, it's almost like 3 seasons inside of one. You have your first 2 games against FBS schools, both on the road. Then you come home and you play 4 straight home games. Obviously, the big stretch, the big game in that 4, they're all big. I think the Lions will be favored in 3 out of the 4, and kind of a toss-up game against UIW. I think they're kind of a wild card. What they're going to have with the new coaching staff as well. Lindsey Scott now playing quarterback for them. But thank goodness that other guy's gone. My goodness, I don't want to see him anymore. He has lit us up the last couple of years. They moved on to Washington State, and now and then we have the bye. After that 4 straight at home, we have a bye, and then we got to figure out a way to beat some good teams on the road, because you're going to play at Jacksonville State, at McNeese, and at Nichols, and we got to win those games. We got to win 2 out of those 3 if we're going to make the playoffs, I think, and have a chance to win this league. Because I will say this. The way this conference is set up this year, and not complaining about the schedule or looking at things like that, but we have a pretty tough road. Our toughest games, it seems like, are on the road. UIW and Nichols, they don't play each other in conference. So they don't play. So they play each other, but it's a non-conference game. So we don't have the luxury of one of them knocking each other off. We're going to have to be, you can't slip up in conference. I'll put it that way. If you're going to win this league, just because of the other contenders with the way their schedule works out. Nichols has everybody good at home. That's just kind of the way it plays out. And then obviously the last few years, it seems like it's for all the marbles that last Thursday night of the season for the Riverboat Classic, which has turned into a great FCS rivalry nationwide. And I don't think there's any different this year. I think that both teams are going to have really good teams. And I think there's going to be certainly something on the line when we play them in the final game of the year on November 17th down in Thibodaux.
And of course, McNeese is a new coaching staff, and I think they're going to be back. They'll be playing at night finally for the first time.
It's always, Mark, it's hard to beat them over there. We've only beat them over there like twice in 10 years or something.
No, it's hard. They're going to reload. They have a new coaching staff. They're going to be fired up to play for him, and getting back under the lights, playing 7:00 games. That's something they haven't been able to do since the hurricane. And so there's going to be some renewed life. Play them late in the year, so anything can happen late in the year. We have no idea it's going to be healthy at that point for either team. But we talked about the pitfalls of this schedule. You got the 2 FBS to start. You got Jacksonville State on the road, and then you've got what I would call an unfavorable conference schedule. Your toughest games are on the road. UIW is at home, but you play all the good teams, and then of course Nichols gets a little bit of a break, and so does UIW. So. Again, there's no margin for error. This team's got to be great week in and week out. I think they have the potential to be. I think this has potential to be maybe the best Southeastern team we've had since bringing football back. I think the talent level is that good. Now, again, you got to replace some superstars, and it's just how do they step up and manage it. But the opportunity is there for this team to be a great football team.
And you're going to add Commerce to the league this year. They're playing the schedule. They come to Southeastern. First time they've been to Hammond since 2009. They played the Lions that year as a Division II team. You're going to play Murray State. It's very, very kind of a transitional deal with them. More to come on that later about the joining of the Southland Conference. And then you add Lamar late. That's back on the schedule at the very, very last second. That's over in Beaumont. So there's some tough games there. And it's going to be interesting to watch this thing play out, and it's going to be exciting to do it. So, guys, it's been fun as always. We'll wrap this up. I want to kind of go over the little schedule what we have coming up here. So Friday night, I know you guys will be out there. You have Hot August Nights this Friday night. The pep rally will be taking place right in downtown, so go check that out. Coach Self will be on the stage, and a lot of the players, a lot of meet and greet and stuff with SOE Athletics. It's been a great thing in this community on how they have tied Southeastern at the start of the athletic season together with Hot August Nights, which is one of the greatest events in all of Hammond throughout the year. And it got canceled, obviously, with Ida last year and COVID the previous year. So it's going to be a big Hot August Nights. I think a lot of people are going to be out for it. Hopefully the weather's good. So check that out. Alan, real quick, your thing on Sunday with Coach Silva. What's the first radio show?
Yeah, so the management of Poorhouse actually reached out to us and said, hey, how would you feel about doing the first show instead of at the Poorhouse at Gnarly Barley, instead of being on Monday night, on Sunday? So we're going to be out there. The broadcast is going to be from 3 to 4 at Gnarly Barley. Coach Selpo is going to get there about 2:30. He said he's also going to hang out till about 4:30, so a chance to kind of meet and talk with him and answer some questions. You know how he is; he's super personal. Sure, he'll drink a beer or so at Gnarly Barley, but I think it was a good idea. Some people can't make it on Monday nights. Well, I think it's an opportunity for everybody to kind of hang out on Sunday, and we're going to kick the season off. But we're going to be doing that this Sunday from 3 to 4 is the show, but it's actually going to be from 2:30 to 4:30. We'll be out there, so come see us. And as well as always, you can listen on the network. But we'll be no Monday night radio show this week. It's on Sunday, and then from here on out, it's going to be on Monday night, except for the Labor Day week. I think we're going to be on Tuesday, but then it'll start being on Monday nights. Which I'll say this: I've been doing these shows for a long time. The Poorhouse is one of my favorite venues. I think they've done a really good job with it. Responses have been good. Our crowd's been outstanding, and hopefully we continue that this year.
And great food, by the way.
Yeah, great food, great atmosphere.
And then on Saturday is season ticket pickup, 9 a.m. The Dukes of Hammond will be out there kind of tailgating for the scrimmage that's going on. There's going to be food for the season ticket holders when they come pick up their tickets starting at 9 a.m. on Saturday.
That's awesome.
Chance to kind of get a
Big weekend.
peek of the team. So that'll be fun.
Absolutely. That's a great thing. And the scrimmage is an opportunity to see them one last time before the season actually kicks off, and it means something. So get out there. I think the weather's supposed to get a lot better on Saturday and Sunday. The rain chances are dropping big time. So hopefully it's a good day Saturday to be out there. It's going to be hot, but hey, we're in Louisiana in August, so you got to be prepared for that. So that's on Saturday. Hot August Nights is on Friday night, and then Alan will be out there at on Sunday. Don't forget, Frank, Coach Shelfo will meet with the media for the first time on Monday. There really hadn't been an official press conference. Really haven't gotten a lot of video at all from practices or interviews with Coach Shelfo. This will be his first interview session with the media on Monday. That'll be posted on our Southeastern Sports Network Twitter. We'll get our clips from Coach Shelfo out to you. So obviously it's not open to the public, but you can catch what he says in the highlights and clips from that on Monday afternoon. So keep your eye on that, and then we'll be ready to lace them up on Saturday against you. Real quick, guys, I don't have much time left, but Harris, start with you. Just your final thoughts about the excitement of the season. And first of all, we're happy to have you. You did a great job today. We're looking forward to this season. Your thoughts on getting ready for 2022?
I think it's going to be a great year. Thanks for allowing me to be part of the team. I'm super excited.
Absolutely.
I'm ecstatic that have this different perspective now from being a player to a fan to now in the booth. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting. I think that talent-wise, we're the best in the conference, and I think that we're going to go out and compete with everyone that we line up against. I think our coaching staff is some of the best in the country, and I think we will be prepared for every single week. And I'm looking forward to a good season.
Absolutely, Mark.
Well, it's here. Football season once again seems like one year runs into the next, and it's like, wow, we're here again. And you got a chance to really have a special season. I think there's a lot of things have to go right. This is a season, like we said, a lot of pitfalls and obstacles in our way, but I think this is a roster that can do it, a coaching staff that can do it, and it's going to be fun to watch and see how it plays out.
Alan?
Yeah, look, just excited to get the year going. Lots been going on. Just ready to get some football, and I think that be able to hang out with you guys, get on the road, be watching this football team, and going into last year, we knew what we had. We knew we had the best quarterback in the country. We knew that we had a chance to have a good year and get to the playoffs again. And I think this year's a little more exciting because there's some unknowns. And again, I'm excited to see what this offense can do. We've put ourselves on the map as one of the top offensive programs in the United States of America in FCS football. And, we've gotten some marquee games. That's something we didn't talk about tonight. The fact that in the next couple of years we have home and home with Eastern Washington. You look at some of the programs that we've taken place that we've gotten to play over the last few years. James Madison, Montana. The brand of Southeastern Louisiana University football has grown tremendously in the last 5 years. And I think we're only on the doorstep of continuing to do that. We're one of the programs in the nation that's had one of the longest streaks of being in the top 25. And we're going to try to continue that streak going this year. So again, excited about where we're at, excited about where we're going. There's some excitement in the near future about a new football facility that's in the works. So we have some good things coming down the pipeline. And again, I can't wait to see where this thing can go, because the perception of Southeastern football, again, over the last 5 years nationally, is maybe never been better than it has been here under Coach Selfo.
All right, that's a great thought there, guys. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure to be with you guys as always. We'll try to do these periodically through the season as we get going here. First game, 6 o'clock kickoff at Lafayette and Cajun Field on September 3rd. Can't wait to be, at that football game. Network airtime will start at 5:30. Game kickoffs at 6:05. Our affiliates will be out there doing a tailgate show all day. Plus, this great weekend coming up. So take advantage of that, Lion fans. Thanks for joining us. For Harris, Beal, Alan Waddell, and Mark Wilby, I'm Rodeo saying good night, and we'll talk to you soon down the line. Thanks again.